Good morning. I've got a really interesting patient. It's just over here. That violin is really important to the player. She has lived her life with some mental health issues, and her violin is her solace. Like, it really helps her. It's out all the time, and unfortunately, because it's out all the time, it was actually left out during a time of extreme humidity, and the neck came out. Humidity just isn't that good for instruments. I've shown you in a video before, and so the instruments come apart. So when you ever have something like this, the first thing you have to do is you have to take off the strings. If there's string tension, that's when something like this can happen, where the strings, like first it came loose here, but the strings were still tensioned, so they just kept pulling the neck forward. And because the humidity was so intense, it did a lot of damage. You know, you can see that the rib has actually come off the top block here, and it's in a really devastating condition. The player of this violin really loves her violin. She plays for mental health. She composes a lot of little pieces. They always sound very Irish, but very beautiful. It's what helps her maintain a bit of stability in her life. What I want to do first is I want to take the back off the instrument so I can repair the damage on the top block, and also the back join is open here. So I'll take this instrument to my workbench now. Before I do that, I'll just quickly take off the chin rest. Okay, let's go to the workbench. Okay. Alright, so the first thing I'm going to do is open up this violin. You know it's going to make a lot of noise. It's actually fairly loosely glued, which is probably why it came apart. So I'm going to actually have to look at making sure this area here fits really well when I put it back together, because we don't want that to happen again. It's always so devastating for a player. There we go. Ooh. That's just incredible. I mean, it's all come apart. Here the top block has come off in a few places. Luckily it's still attached on one side here. Yeah, it'll have to be the very first thing I'll reattach. The other thing too is the back join is actually open. You can see that. So I'm going to have to glue that and reinforce it. Quite devastating for the player, but I am going to get it working well again. So the first thing I want to do is I just want to clamp everything into place so it can kind of regain its shape a little bit. So I'm making sure that the top block is actually level with the top plate in here. So I've put in this clamp. Actually, I have to soak some of these areas and get the glue off. I don't want to soak it too long because I really don't want to make it worse. So I'm using a bit of cold water. That's a great thing about hide glue. You may have watched my video on hide glue itself, so it is actually reversible. So all this has been glued with hide glue in the past, which is great. I'll be able to repair that and make it look amazing. Okay, and the great thing is maybe I might glue it while it's a little bit moist. I'll have to heat the whole area up. By doing that, it'll actually really regain its former shape. I've also put in like a little bit of wet paper towel here and a clamp, and I can only leave this clamped for about 15 minutes like that, soaked, and then I'll use hot water to wash off all the glue. The great thing about this back join is it had at one point been glued slightly mismatched. So today when I glue it, I can make sure it's all matched up. So that's actually quite cool. I've just soaked that as well, and I'll put that aside as well to soak. Okay, so the next thing I have to do is take a sip of coffee. I'm gonna just take the clamps off for the open join on the back of this violin. Then I'm just gonna glue on some cleats to reinforce it. This has come together pretty well. Just gotta wash the glue off first. Alright, so that's all washed off, so I'm just going to glue these cleats on. I'm going to do 4 cleats on here. 2. I'm going to put one of these clamping blocks on the back and then just put the clamps on. Okay, so that can dry now. Doesn't need to dry all that long, 4 hours should be fine. Alright, that's all dry now, so I can take these clamps off. And so the ribs all glued in, which is nice. See, that's looking really good again. Yeah, so also glued on the lining here, so that's all good. So I'm going to make sure that the back fits really well to this section. Yeah, that's really important. Here is the back, so I've glued the cleats on here, and a little bit later today I'll be gluing the back together. I just want to check the top plate first to make sure there's no possibilities of joints opening easily. But yeah, this is now fully reinforced, so it'll stay together a lot better. I mean, the player keeps the violin out quite a lot, unfortunately, so it can split apart easily. Yeah, I'm gonna have to check the top as well. Now I've just got to put this tiny piece into this slot, just here. Anyway, so that's back in there. There's like little tiny bits missing, but I'll sort that out when I get a chance. Okay, so now I just got to take the clamps off. I glued the block onto the top plate. Got to take the clamps off, and I'm going to glue the fingerboard on, because when I put the back on, I want to make sure that the fingerboard angle is correct. Just a matter of putting some glue on here and clamping it on. Putting little clamping block on. Okay, that's done. She does do a lot of playing. There's a fair bit of wear on the fingerboard, so she must play all the time, which is great. She's been missing her violin. She's been calling and finding out how her violin is going. Hopefully I'll get it finished for this coming week. I'm just going to put that back here and let it dry. And then the other thing I'm going to do is I'm just going to cut these cleats back quickly. Just going to do a tiny bit of sanding just to smooth out the top. Okay, that's done. So I'm going to have to really make sure that the back here fits to the block and the rest of the instrument. That's going to be hugely important, so this never happens again. The problem is, like, the instrument does need to be kept dry, so if the player keeps leaving the instrument out, it's just going to happen again. Hopefully she'll learn from this situation. I'm just going to soak the glue just to wash it off. There's a bit of glue there. That should soak fairly quickly and I'll just wash it off. And then I can make sure it's all very, very flat. Alright, today is the big day where I glue the instrument back together. I'm just taking the clamps off the fingerboard. Then I'm going to glue this together. I just want to make sure that this area here is perfectly flat and fits to the back. Okay. So I'm just looking at this and I'm noticing that the neck, like it's warped a little bit. So what I'll be doing is I will glue the bottom half of the instrument first, and then I'll glue the top half of the instrument tomorrow, but I'll just clamp it into place first. So that'll allow it time to just settle into the right shape. Let's just have a quick look. My clamps are all adjusted for a viola, so they're way too big. So I'm gonna adjust them down. Okay, wasn't all of them, but anyway. Now I've got to glue this on fairly well because this instrument gets a full-on workout. So I will be putting glue on both sides of some of these, especially on the bottom block. It's going to be really hard if I ever need to take the plate off again, but I want to make sure that it can withstand a rough life. Because like I said, this violin is really important to the player. So her having it work for her is really important. So I'm going to glue it that bit stronger. Okay, here we go. I always do the C bouts first. Because that way I can work upwards and downwards. Looks like it's coming together really beautifully, so that makes me happy. It's all matching up. So now I'm just going to put on one more clamp, and that is just to push this top area back into shape a little bit because it's a bit out of shape. That way I'll allow it to settle in overnight. So I'm just going to, I'll just clean around the joints, just clean the glue a little bit. There's a bit of paper towel. I'll do the rest of the glue cleaning tomorrow. I just want to get the basics, the main part off. Like if there's a whole lot of glue, it can actually peel off the varnish. I'll put that over there to dry and then I'll pick it up tomorrow. There we go. All done. Good morning. Hi. Just having my morning coffee. Yeah, so this is dried overnight. I've kind of left it kind of tensioned up here, like just pulled the neck up gently. So now I will glue the top part of the violin. Alright, so I'll take this clamps off quickly. That should have all glued beautifully. And now I just have to re-glue the top part of the back here to get that all matching and working well. So I've also got the bridge that was with it, and that's all like the perfect height. So I'm going to, as I glue this, I'll check it with the bridge as well. So the first step, of course, is to put the glue into here. Well, actually get my clamps ready. That's probably a good idea. Here's my clamps. Then I've just got to put glue in there. Okay, so that's done. That just needs to dry for a while now. So that has been drying overnight, and I will take the clamps off. Yeah, everything's come together beautifully. I'm going to have to soak, so I'll go around with some water, some just cold water, and I will soak all around the instrument so I can wash the glue off. So I use cold water and then I follow it with hot water. So I need to wait probably about 5 minutes for that to soak, and then I'll be able to wash that off with hot water. Okay, I've let that soak for a while, so I'm just going to get all the old bits of glue off. I cleaned a fair bit off when I was gluing, but just like to make sure there's absolutely no glue residues anywhere on the instrument. While I'm there, I'm going to give the whole instrument a bit of a clean. Just going to test over the whole instrument, make sure there are no open spots. She's going to come pick it up tomorrow. Yep, that's all good. That just needs to dry, and then in the morning I will give the whole instrument a bit of a polish. I'll get the strings on there. She'll be picking it up tomorrow afternoon, so it'll be good for her to be able to get back into playing again. Good morning. Today I will do the finishing touches to this humidity damaged violin. So yesterday I cleaned all the glue off the joints and things like that. So this morning the first thing I'm going to do is just put a tiny bit of varnish along the joints here, just to make sure that they're fully sealed and don't open up again. Okay, so that's all done. So I'm going to let that dry a little bit, and then I will just polish the whole instrument. And after that, it's time to put the strings back on. Okay, now I've just got to polish the violin, and then I'm going to put the strings on. So exciting. Obviously there's been some waiting time here. It's been a good half hour for the varnish to dry. The good thing is if it's not totally dry, it will actually polish in quite a lot better. Very important step in the polishing process. Oh yes, I'm going to polish a lot better now. Ooh, it's starting to look really nice. And also on the side here, that's blending in nicely. I've put some extra varnish on the hand patch here as well, just to make sure, protect everything for the player. I'm going to let that dry for a bit. Just doing a bit of cleaning. Alright, just putting a bit of peg paste on the pegs, make sure they work nice and smoothly, and then I can put the strings on. Oh yeah. You can really see that she uses her violin a lot by some of the wear on the fingerboard. It's just amazing. She really loves playing her violin. But the time's come to put the strings on. Just putting the soundpost in. Straighten the bridge, very important. just going to adjust the sound post to where it should be. Huh. Already pretty much put it in the right spot. That's amazing. Now I've just got to do a quick final polish, and then I'm going to let the violin rest a bit, and then I will try it out, and that's it. Okay, so she had a case that wasn't really protecting the instrument, so I recommended a better case, and not too expensive case. So these aren't too expensive, and they look really beautiful. They're actually cases that come with my Pierre Lamont Master and Pierre Lamont violin. And the great thing is it has a hygrometer, so she can check if it's too humid. I'm also giving her one of my nice violin cleaning cloths, so she can really look after her instrument. I'll pop that in here. Okay, so now I just need to check the sound and playability. Yeah, that's great. I mean, the string action is a tiny bit low because I made the neck just a tiny bit higher just to give her some leeway. But yes, I'm happy with that. It looks beautiful. So now I just have to wait for the client. She's been struggling with, I think it's depression throughout her life, and there's something else as well. I just think it's so beautiful that the violin is just so important to her, brings so much into her life. She basically composes these little sort of folky sounding pieces. It's quite lovely. And you know, it's so important to her. It's so important to her that she keeps her violin lying out all the time, and so I'm going to have to try and stop her from doing that somehow. I was thinking of maybe laminating a little thing, please keep the violin in the case, or something. Yeah, I'll think of something. I'm just going to move all her stuff in from the other case so it's all ready to go. Okay, so she just came in and picked up her violin. She was so happy. So she told me that she used to busk quite a bit with the violin, and it was really nice. It earned her some money. But what I really love, I was sort of talking about how different busking can be depending on your mood. So she was saying that on the down days, she would go out and busk, and she would see how it cheered up people, and that cheered her up as well. So it's really interesting, because I've heard a lot that sometimes when people are a bit down, when they have an opportunity to give and help, that it actually helps them mentally as well. And I actually thought that's something really special I got from our conversation. She's so excited about playing her violin again. She's really missed it. So I'm really excited to hear how it all goes for her. I'll be calling her back in the next week or two just to see how everything's going. All right, so there you go. Interesting repair, huge humidity damage, but also interesting story, because the violin is helping this string player with her mental health and helping her get through life in a positive way. So it might be something that could be of benefit to you as well, if everyone has their own challenges. So anyway, music is beautiful. It's a beautiful way of connecting. It's a beautiful way of expressing yourself, of feeling, like really feeling beautiful emotions. So hey, remember to like the video, subscribe, and hit the little bell. That way you find out every time I post a new video. Okay, bye.